In this episode of the Tech John, we discuss Amazon's Ring Super Bowl ad upsetting almost everyone, France and possibly other countries seeking digital autonomy from the U.S., and Meta reportedly working on facial recognition for its smart glasses. We got all this, a spotlight, and more in episode 215 of the Tech John from Columbus, Ohio. I'm your host, Robb Dunewood.
And coming out of Philly, it's your girl, Tech Life Steph.
And Terrance is, I'm assuming, on the beach somewhere in the world.
He went
on the beach.
Yeah, he did. He is on vacation right now. I forgot. I was like, I knew he was going to be out, but I forgot where he said he was going. So yeah, shout out to Terrance. Safe travels, brother Tech.
Yeah, so we don't have any AKAs for you this week, but we do have a whole lot of tech. Steph and I was just talking about the All-Star game, which I thought the actual All-Star game, I thought it was better because this little mini tournament that they did. But in the sports world, there was some beef with the curlers throwing them big old, I don't even know what you call them. They call them stones or whatever, but yeah, it's like Canada and was it the Netherlands? It was Canada and somebody, and they was going back and forth, and it looks like Canada was actually cheating a little bit. So I didn't know that they had beef in curling.
It's beef, and I think the competition, you know, any sort of competition is going to encourage a little bit of.
Yeah.
Little bit of conflict.
Yeah, but anyway, I finally did figure out how to watch the Olympics because it's on Peacock, it's on NBC. That's really the place. It's on Peacock and it's on NBC, but you can watch Peacock on Amazon. You can watch it on Peacock. You can watch it on the actual NBC channel. So I was just trying to figure out where do I actually go. I forgot the Olympics started because it's like I don't normally watch like just NBC. So it wasn't until I started thinking about it, like I think on Saturday after the Olympics started, they was like, oh, wait a minute, the Olympics started yesterday. Let's go find some stuff out. So yeah, so it's been a sports weekend, but we are going to get into the tech. But before we do, we have to shout out some brand new patrons. We got not just one, we got two new patrons this week. So we have to give shout outs to Martin Burke and Kiona Castleman. We both have signed up and are supporting the show. For those who are wondering what I'm talking about right now, one of the ways that you can support the Tech John, if you like the way we bring this tech to you, you can head over to thetechjohn.com. That is the techjawn.com/Patreon, or head over to patreon.com/the Tech John. And once you get there, you will find several different tiers that you would be able to pledge support to. Just once again, help us bring this tech the way that we bring it to you. So once again, if you like how we're doing it and you'd like to support us like Martin Burke and, you know, Kiona Castleman, head on over to thetechjohn.com.
Maybe
Kiana. I think you're right, Kiana.
I was like, that sounds like it should be pronounced Kiana.
Right, Kiana.
I got you, Kiana, girl.
Yeah,
I got you.
Yeah, Kiana. I think I said Kiana the first time and then changed it up the second time. So I want to make sure I have my bases covered. But yes, we appreciate y'all for supporting the show. We really, really do. So with that being said, Steph, this wasn't as big last Monday after the Super Bowl, because it was a story that I heard, but I didn't know how big it was going to be. But Amazon, they had a Ring Super Bowl ad. And the ad apparently upset everyone because there's a couple things that have been going on with Amazon and Ring. Back in January, they announced a partnership with Flock, and that sparked some outrage. And they said, well, you know what we can do? Since you're upset about what we're doing with Flock, how about if we actually just turn on this thing called Search Party, that if you have a lost pet, people who have a lost pet can just activate people's cameras in the neighborhood and see if they can find their pet. And the internet was like, nah, we're not with that. So there was a heck of a lot of backlash because people were saying, well, wait a minute.
Who would have thought lost puppies would cause so much controversy?
If you can use this to find a dog, what's to prevent you from using it to find a person?
Nothing.
I'm not low-jacking myself like that, let alone letting somebody else just come and do these things. And that was kind of the sentiment from the internet. So if we extend the story into last week, this deal that Amazon Ring had with Flock, they actually said, you know what? We're pulling out of the deal. We're going to pull out. We're canceling this subscription. It was going to be way more overhead to support it than we initially thought. I think they said, it's
That
like, you see what
is
happened
gross.
was is that we didn't know it was
Yeah,
going to get this kind
yeah,
of heat. So before we even get the thing activated, let's go ahead and just do a turnaround, about face, and try to save some of our customer base. Because from what I'm understanding, people started unsubscribing to their Ring subscriptions in droves.
yeah,
And they said, okay, this was supposed to help us make money, not lose it. So I just kind of wanted to get your take, because one of the things that I've had a problem with the Ring for some time. I've had a Ring installed for probably about 2 years now, but the Ring that I have
mhm,
installed, I think we've had it for probably close to 6. And the reason I never installed it when we first got it was because after we bought it, found out, oh, wait a minute, the police can get access to my, to my camera,
right.
to my stuff without even having to come to me. They can just go and ask Amazon directly. I'm like, nah, until if that doesn't go away, we will just never have this installed, and we'll just use the old doorbell. So I literally, for probably 3-4 years, did not install that thing because of that, until they pulled that rule back. And it's like, y'all didn't learn from that. It's like you're doing the same thing all over again by allowing people to search for their pets. And it's just kind of like, it's just a thing that is on.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that I mean, that whole on by default, um, feature is always a problem across any platform. I literally just installed a Ring probably less than a month ago now. I think my month trial expires. I mean, I did subscribe, but my month trial expires in like 2 days. And it was for a lot of those reasons of just surveillance and, not wanting to profile anybody and police access and different things like that. But this in particular I thought was interesting because I in researching for this particular story, I came across another interview that Neelay over at The Verge did with the guy Jamie, I think his name is Jamie, that is the president of Ring, and he sounds low key obsessed with like the idea of quote unquote fighting crime. Like
mhm,
he is truly of the belief that this device, these Ring cameras are going to be the thing that like eliminates crime in the United States. And so it was just his mindset and his attitude and his answers to some of the questions that he was being asked just gave me a little bit of pause, because I don't think that we are at the end of this um conversation and this issue with who they're giving this data to. I think
mhm,
Flock may not get it, but somebody's going to get it. I think he is going to continue to push for, more AI, more facial recognition, more like, Ring already has facial recognition. Number one, let's just, baseline that they're trying to make it seem like this whole search party thing is just for animals. I know the article talked about the fact that a human facial recognition was not enabled on this feature, but if you already have human facial recognition on the platform and on the device, there's nothing keeping it from being attached to this feature, and used to start
mhm.
identifying people as they come up to your door. So it's like there's way too much stuff already sort of in the mix, I think. And with as passionate and enthusiastic as the president is about the idea of crime, I mean, maybe that's his own way of justifying all of this overreach to himself. But I feel like for as weirdly obsessed as he seems with the idea of fighting crime, we're just not going to see the end of this. And I think Ring in general is always going to be subject to some level of surveillance and profiling, because that's just what they do. I think that's just what they do.
So, and here's the thing. I get that Amazon Ring is saying we are not running human facial recognition against this data. But
Hmm.
you have you no longer, they canceled their partnership with Flock. Flock, however, ain't saying that.
Allegedly.
For those who don't know what Flock is famous for, Flock is they basically are the license plate cam company. So when you drive past, a Flock camera or whatever, and it can get a picture of your license plate, that's one of the things that
Hmm.
Flock does. So how are they doing it? They're using all kind of AI to help themselves do that. It's not a stretch to think that if they have the data and they're looking for something, that they could go and they could use that data, and maybe it wasn't intended to be run through facial recognition, but let's go ahead and just run it right now. And I say, how easy is that to do? I yesterday uploaded a picture of someone into ChatGPT. They didn't have the picture before I uploaded it, but they got it now. So I was able to do some facial, not necessarily facial recognition. I was able to do some other stuff, make a caricature out of it. But they have that picture. Just because they may
Mm-hmm.
not be running facial recognition against it doesn't mean that it couldn't be done if someone has access to the data. And I think that that is where a lot of the alarm came from all the people who were upset and saying, hey, Ring, this is not the move. We don't want to, assist ICE is basically where I think a lot of the consternation was coming
Yeah,
from. And,
absolutely.
and I'll just say it like this. Our listeners probably have a difference of opinions on a ton of different things, just like we do. But it is pretty much, almost a given that much of America is not really down with what ICE is doing in the way that they're doing it. So I can see a lot of people saying, I'm not trying to help them investigate anything. So I don't want to give my kid, even though you were looking for, for Spot on the Ring camera, you happen to see somebody else walking on the Ring camera and say, oh, who's that? Give us
Right.
that information. I think that's what a lot of people were thinking about. We don't want to allow you to use our cameras and the data from our cameras to do your investigations. It's not rather,
And
we
to
thought you even had
people's
to ask us
memories.
really to do it. I think is the big
Yeah,
part of it.
but the bad part about this though is people's memories are short, and I think there will come a time, God willing, where ICE and that immediate threat of ICE is not top of mind. I'm not going to say it's going to go away, but it's not going to be top of mind for most people. And I feel like all of these things are going to come right back into play once people have forgotten to be outraged about them. Honestly,
Mhm.
I just feel like we are on a bullet train of inevitability to a surveillance state in this country. Honestly, I don't want to be fatalistic in that way, but I don't know how we don't end up there.
Like I said, whether you are pro or, like, let's not even say ICE, let's just say helping the authorities. I don't want you to use my camera to investigate crime without you coming to me with a warrant and saying, hey, we need your camera information to investigate crime. That is where my concern is. And I think that's where a lot of people's concerns are. And you telling us this is not going to be the case, it just doesn't feel good, which is probably why they're saying it was because they didn't realize how much management it was going to be. Maybe they were having a hard time managing all the people that was canceling them Ring accounts because
Mhm.
it's like that could have been, yeah, we're spending way too much time managing the cancellation of accounts, so let's go ahead and hold up on this flock deal.
Yeah. We'll be talking about this again though. I
I
can guarantee you. It may not be Flock, but it might be Palantir. You know what I mean? It's gonna be somebody, and we'll be having this conversation again sooner rather than later.
We might be having this conversation again before the end of the show, but you have to stay
Mhm.
tuned to find out. That's not what we're going to be talking about now, though. We are now going to talk about France seeking digital autonomy from the US. And your question was, are other are other countries going to be far behind? So tell us what's going on with France and some of the stuff that they're doing with some of our big US based tech companies.
France has given the middle finger to some of our big US based tech companies in the idea of digital sovereignty is what they're saying. So around Europe, governments and institutions are seeking to reduce their use of digital services from US big tech companies and turning to domestic or free alternatives. The push for digital sovereignty is gaining attention as the Trump administration strikes an increasingly belligerent posture toward the continent, highlighted by the recent tensions over Greenland that intensified fears that Silicon Valley giants could be compelled to cut off access. So, between that and then there was an incident where the let me find it real quick. There was a gentleman who was the so he was at the Hague. There was a gentleman that was like at the top of the Hague, the top prosecutor based at the Hague had called for an arrest warrant for Israel's President Benjamin Netanyahu, and Donald Trump sanctioned this prosecutor as a result of him calling for this prosecution, and Microsoft canceled his email for his Hague email, basically. And so, things like that have prompted a lot of European companies to feel like, listen, we probably got to get our own stuff popping because we don't know what's going to happen if these US tech companies who are all bending the knee to the Trump administration. So it's not just France, it's actually some soldiers in Austria have switched to different software other than Microsoft Office. And then there are some bureaucrats in a German state, not Germany necessarily, but in some German state have turned to free software for their administrative work. So folks are dumping Zoom, Microsoft Teams, and Microsoft Office currently,
Mm-hmm.
but it looks like European countries are looking at their alternatives in general to kind of wean themselves off a dependence on US technology, which I think, is I'm not mad at that. I mean, I can't be mad at them. You just don't know with such a volatile and incompetent, shall I say, administration that we're dealing with over here. Like, you can't trust your systems and sensitive information to companies that are beholden to kind of a lunatic. I
Yeah, and
mean, I don't know what else to say.
and it's more complex, like Zoom, WebEx, GoToMeeting. These are big
Hmm.
services, and what these countries are saying, or in some case, divisions within countries are saying, is like, look, um, we had a relationship with the United States that we felt comfortable using United States technology the way that we've used it up until now. Things have changed. Now, we can argue about
Hmm.
what things have changed or they haven't, or this or that and the other, but you have people who are saying, you know what, we don't want to be so beholden to the United States, because if something goes wrong, then our access, our ability to do business the way that we do it changes. If you think about
Yep.
the United States, we do this all the time. We literally just banned DJI in the United States because DJI is a company based out of China, and
Hmm.
we have concerns over how that
And isn't
technology is used.
aren't the Huawei phones still banned here as
Yeah,
well?
yeah. I mean,
Hmm.
there's many things that are in this case. So we think that it's always like an adversarial type of situation, but not necessarily. We in the United States don't generally want to be beholden to other countries. We found this out during, the chip crisis. During
Right.
COVID, we couldn't get chips, and what do? We passed the Chips Act and said we're going to start building these foundries right here in America. There is a big hole in the ground around the corner from the house. We joke about this all the
Hmm.
time, but that is a direct result of the United States saying, you know what? We cannot put ourselves in a situation that we're, even though these are our partners, when you're thinking about where these chips are coming from, we can't put ourselves in a position to where we are beholden to some other country for our technical sovereignty. And that's essentially what is happening here. I know that some
That's what
people
they're
are, oh,
doing
but I can't believe that they would do this. Like, no, we do it. Believe it.
all the time.
They're
And
saying,
but America's very much a do as I say, not as I
right.
do country. But these people, these countries have a valid concern here with this type of thing, and it's just, again, you're at the whim of an administration that changes their mind every 5 minutes, um and at the whim of tech companies who cave to the whims of this administration. And I'm hoping, I don't know how much of an impact this is going to make to these tech companies, but I really do hope that it signals to them that they have customers, actual customers that they are more beholden to than our current administration. But we'll see.
So I'll look at it like this. For the I'm not trying to to give any pass to any company, because the companies themselves have probably precipitated this in the way that they respond and the way that they do things. But if I were a government somewhere outside of the United States, I would be looking at it simply like this: if we do something that is best for our people, that the United States administration does not agree with, they may just say, you know what? cancel all these accounts. That's an untenable position for us to be in.
Yeah.
The chances of that happening are slim to none, although it's actually happened before. But the chances of that happen, even if they're slim to none, you as a sovereignty cannot say, you know what, we're going to just keep going with this untenable position. If
And
you
and
can do
and
something,
hope for the best,
exactly. And I think
Mhm.
that is ultimately what is happening here. These countries, in some place, parts of countries are saying, you know what, it's safer for us to not be on Teams. It's safer for us not to use Office. It's safe for us to do some other things. So let's start exploring that now so that we can get off of this, so that if something were to change, it does not affect us doing business the way that we want to do business. And I know that a
Mhm.
lot of people in America are like, I can't believe that they're doing this. Like, no, this is exactly what we have been doing for forever. So other countries doing this, it seems like it's like anti-USA. No, it's just pro where they are. It's just, it's not
Exactly,
anti-US. It's just pro
and
them. They're not. No
I
one's
hope
anti-Microsoft. They're pro their stuff.
that these countries take this opportunity to develop their own tech ecosystems. You know what I mean? I think the world would be better served by more choice, and a more robust tech ecosystem
Mhm.
where there were a lot of different options for people to use these different tools. I mean, because right now we are sort of
Mhm.
stuck with Microsoft. You know, I mean, you got Google Drive, you got Microsoft or Google Drive, you have, Teams or Zoom. You had, like, so there are, we have very limited choices when it comes to this type of thing. And I think, we would all be better off with more choice. So I hope that they take advantage of this and make some investments in their own infrastructure and in their researchers and their developers and all that stuff, and come up with something that maybe we can use over here. Like, who knows? So
If we look
I
at it
ain't
just
mad.
from if we look at it just from a purely a technical standpoint, there's a couple things. We don't just we are doing a live stream on StreamYard right now. But you know what else we have? We have other things. We have Talk Studio. We have other stuff that would allow us to do this show for just in case some stuff happens. And in the 4 years
Hmm.
that we've been doing this show, we have had some just in case stuff has happened and have had to use something else. So it is just, you want to make sure that geopolitics is not a reason for you not being able to do something. You want to be able to continue to run your organization. You want to be able to run your company the way you've always run it. So you're ultimately reducing risk by looking at other things to potentially use, not being beholden to just one, to one company. We talk about this all the time about how, you are living a dangerous game if all your content is just on a social media platform, because as soon as that social media
That's
platform
right.
decide they don't like you, or they change their algorithm, it can wreck you. And if you don't have the ability to contact people beyond the social media platform you were in, then you are kind of hosed. It's the same thing here. If you were only using Microsoft Teams for your employees to be able to talk to each other internally, if you're only using GoToMeeting, if you're only using Google Chat, or whatever the case is, or Google Meet, I should say, if you're only using these tools and those tools are no longer available to you, you are in some kind of way. So to me, this just makes sense, seeing the
It
state
makes
of the world that we're
perfect
in right
sense.
now.
And I do believe we are going to see more countries follow suit, like more like larger countries. I mean, France, I think, is the largest country that's doing this currently. I know Italy had always been using some alternative resources, but I think we're going to start to see a lot of people sort of migrate away from American tech, and we won't really have anybody to blame but ourselves, honestly. And they are well within their rights to do so.
Hmm. So I said that we might actually talk about facial recognition and stuff like that again. So we got to bring this up, and I think we're going to probably spend some time here. But Meta, Meta, the company behind Instagram and Threads and Facebook, and Meta, the big giant social media platform, they are reportedly working to bring facial recognition to its smart glasses. So I'll just read a little paragraph here. Meta is reportedly planning to integrate a controversial facial recognition feature codenamed Name Tag into its smart glasses this year. The AI-powered feature would allow users to identify people and access related information, offering a competitive advantage despite the significant ethical risk and past privacy backlash. Meta is moving forward, reportedly timing the rollout to a dynamic political environment to minimize civil society opposition. So So here's the thing. You are wearing your Meta Ray Bans, you're wearing your Wayfarers, or whatever the case is. You got these glasses on, and you got the ones that got the little screen in them where you can actually see stuff. And you're walking down the street, and and you walk past me or Steph on the street, and then you look in your little viewfinder, and it says, "Oh, that's Tech Life Steph. Oh, that's Rob from the Tech John." It sounds really cool
No, it doesn't.
until you
It
think about what
absolutely
it's
does not
doing.
sound
You are
cool at
wearing
all.
something. the,
It
the,
does not.
the technology, the tech piece of that sounds pretty cool. The putting it into use sounds. Let me just say it like this. I don't think that we can stop this avalanche from coming down the mountain. I think that this is where we're going to
No,
be.
the genie's out of the
But
bottle. Absolutely.
man, it's like, we go back to thinking about all the things that can go wrong with facial recognition. I'm worried. I am very concerned about people thinking that they see somebody that they didn't actually see, and it just causing problems that folks now have to try to get out of.
So that's one thing. I
Mhm.
mean, and that would be the thing that would worry you. I, on the other hand, as a woman, um, where we already have instances of men using these glasses right
Mhm.
now to approach women, to film women surreptitiously, to record women without their knowledge and post these videos online for money and clicks and likes and whatever else. This is a very, very, it's already a very dangerous tool to put into the hands of people who don't have other people's best interests at heart.
Mhm.
And when you add a layer of facial recognition on top of what these glasses are already capable of, I mean, you are really just setting yourself up for catastrophic outcomes, honestly,
Mhm.
because it's just like I could absolutely see, you know, a man seeing a woman that he may want to be, want to talk to. She doesn't talk to him, but now his lens overlay shows her address or her phone number or her place of work or, whatever. So now he shows up there and it's like, "Oh, I didn't know you worked here." Try to orchestrate some sort of situation where either he's, fronting like he didn't have all this information available to him, or he's stalking her very easily because the shit is right there on his glasses lens. You know what I mean? Like, I just, this could not be. And this article was horrible. And I'm like, I was like, I want to cancel everything I have related to Meta
Mhm.
so bad. It's just not even funny because you kind of glossed over it, but in an internal memo from Meta's Reality Labs, viewed by the New York Times, Meta said that the current political instability in the US presents a good opportunity for it to push ahead with its plans. Quote, "We will launch during a dynamic political environment where
Mhm.
many civil society groups that we would expect to attack us would have their resources focused on other concerns," end quote, it said. So you already know you're going to get a lot of pushback from this effort to include facial recognition in its glasses. You're launching it specifically at a time when people's attentions are diverted
Mhm.
on things like ICE and other things, so you won't get the resistance and the pushback you're gonna get from doing this. And so it's just like, it's the same as the damn story from last week when Uber knew that that driver was, shady and suspect, but let the girl get in the car with him anyway and he raped her. Like, this is it just I just
Oh, American
I
capitalism
have
at its
no
finest.
words. I
So,
have no words.
so let me go to another terrible thing. I actually asked this as a thought experiment, probably last week yeah, today's Monday, so it had to be last week. So here's the thing. I think that at some point, people walking around with smart glasses on will be like people walking around with smart watches on. It is just not an uncommon thing. It's just kind of what people wear. And Terrance, for that matter, we all wear glasses. It is not inconceivable that 5 years from now, the glasses we get, do you want cameras in them or no? It's kind of like they just come that way unless you say you don't want it. So I think that we're moving to that. Will everybody have them? No, but just like everybody doesn't have a smartwatch, but it will still be ubiquitous. My question comes in, and this is kind of in reference to the last story, or the first story that we talk about. So if you have, let's say that there's an event, something that happens, a crime happens in an area where you're wearing your Meta glasses and you have them on. Meta knows exactly where you are, and they tend to, depending on what they're sending back to the cloud, they know what you're looking at. So could the authorities then subpoena people who just were in the area? Say, hey, you are wearing these Meta Ray-Bans, you're wearing these Meta glasses, and you may have seen something, so we need your video feed so we can actually investigate crime. That is a question that I have. Would you be able to then go in and look and see somebody's feed
Absolutely.
off of their face? And it's like, I just don't like
The
that.
same way they go into the Ring cameras right now that we hate that they
Mhm.
do, they will do the same thing with these glasses. And it just, like I said, we are the idea of a surveillance state is a train that has left the station, and a genie that is out of the bottle.
Mhm.
But the thing is, it's more insidious because they're getting us to do it to ourselves.
Yeah, that's the thing. That is the point,
With
because
even the cops with a camera on every, uh light pole or whatever, we're doing it to ourselves and voluntarily giving up the information, and it's just it's crazy.
now part of the political climate to where Meta is saying we can probably get this done is because what is happening right now, what was happening in Minneapolis with all the people with cell phone footage, they're able to show that what the authority said happened is absolutely not what happens. It's like, literally, the state is in a position of, who are you going to believe, me or your lying eyes? It's like
Right.
they've been saying this across multiple instances, but it's like, what people are doing right now is like, my camera can record in 8K. 8K is so good that not only can you see everything in high fidelity, you can take pictures. I could literally be watching the video and say, "Oh, I want a picture of that," and then you have a high resolution picture right off of a video when it's 8K. That's what my phone
Mhm.
does, and I would imagine that iPhones do the same thing. So, my thought is that these cameras are only going to get better in these glasses. They're probably going to be doing 4K, 8K video at some point. So so like, and I do understand that there is, First Amendment rights. We have people all the time getting in trouble thinking that people can't record when they are in public. You should, when you are in public, you should think that you have no expectation of privacy. If you are in public view, people who see you can take pictures of you. That is completely legal for them to do, which is why these glasses will be legal unless they make some new laws or something like that. But
Mhm.
like you say, just the fact that you potentially could look at someone and find out everything about them. Now, one of the things that Meta is saying that they will do is put some security around this. Maybe it only allows this for people who are have said that I want to be identified in public. Maybe it's only going to identify people who are in your address book. But if it can identify anybody in your address book, it has the ability to identify everybody, regardless of whether they're in it or
Right.
not.
And it's
So,
saying it could recognize people the wearer is already connected to via one of Meta's apps, or
mm,
potentially display information from public Instagram accounts. The New York Times sources said that universal facial recognition, effectively allowing you to look up the identity of anyone you walked past, would not be possible. I do not believe that for 1 second. And even if it does just, look up public Insta, like, yes, my Instagram is public because I consider myself a public figure. I want people to be able to find me. However, you should still have some friction in that process. If you are that pressed to know who I am and want to try to capitalize off of something, that we may have in common, or some reason to connect with me, you need to make that effort to do that through other channels. You know what I mean? I think just having the immediacy of, a pair of glasses and information instantly right in your face, like literally right in your face,
Mm-hmm.
creates creates an opportunistic situation that could just go left. You know what I mean? At any point in time. I just this could not be the worst idea,
So,
honestly.
and here's the other thing. Very first episode that we did almost 4.5 years ago. It's crazy we've been doing the show that long. We're at episode 215 today. But one of the things we were talking about is that facial recognition, although it is significantly better today than it was 4.5 years ago, it is still significantly worse for people with melanin, particularly black and brown women. It is just, where facial recognition is for white men, black and brown women lag orders of magnitude behind that. Black
Right.
men, black and brown men are significantly worse. Not as bad as it is for women, but they are, are also as well. This works
Sucks for
best.
us.
It works best on white men. It works best on, on Asian men, and then white women, Asian women. But if you are darker complected, it just does not do well for you, particularly if you are, if you are a black or brown woman. So part of my concern for this as well is that, this facial recognition is like, can this stuff be used? Is it subpoenable? What is the case with that? And now we're talking about facial recognition that is just on people's faces that are walking around with it that could be misidentifying people. That is a real concern for me
And
that people get misidentified.
the extension of that is, I can absolutely 100% see Meta getting into the defense and homeland security space, and every ICE agent wearing a pair of these glasses and misidentifying people as they come across them. Now you're looking at this person like with your own lion eyes, but the screen is telling you it's someone else. What do you think these rogue wannabe
Mm-hmm.
rent-a-cops are gonna do if they have any reason to? They're already snatching people out of their cars through the windows without provocation or cause. What do you think they're gonna do when they're wearing a pair of glasses that is telling them definitively that this person is a person of interest, or someone that they should be, profiling, or stopping and frisking or whatever? Like this, I'm telling you, Meta is setting themselves
Mm-hmm.
up to get into that military industrial complex game, and we are going to see these glasses on every law enforcement, federal law enforcement agent and agency in this country. And with the, um what is the word I'm looking for? The failure rate of AI currently and facial recognition, it's just gonna be a horrible situation for people that look like me, because because they get it wrong about me more than anybody else, more than any other group.
Yeah, so I will say this: I do not want body cams, or even if it becomes glasses that police officers wear that is doing the job of body cam. I don't want that to go away. Where I do have a problem though is that you start doing some instantaneous facial recognition to determine is this person who we think it is. I just believe that you need to go off of something beyond just the facial recognition, because it can be
Absolutely.
erroneous. And we have seen, Detroit seems to be a special place where this is happening, because they continually keep losing these lawsuits where they have misidentified somebody. The police have known, literally, I'll go back to, the one we talked about way back when it was, a gentleman who was misidentified. The police said, yeah, this probably ain't you, but it's saying that it is. So we're going to have to go ahead and take you in anyway. And people saying, well, they eventually let him go. And it's like, yeah, after he was in jail, had to get a lawyer and this and that and the other. That is not insignificant to what that person had to go through. It wasn't like you misidentified them and then nothing happened. They were,
Right.
even if they were detained, that would be a problem. But if you just like, oh, we don't think this is the right person. They're clear. Let them go. That's bad enough. But the fact that you lock somebody up, remove their liberty from them to the point where they're going to go get a lawyer and then, you just figure out after the fact, it's just not a good thing. And I'm not saying that that's where this is or where it will be. I'm just saying that it could be. We've seen it happen before. So I would hope, because like I said, I think that this genie is out of the bottle. I don't think it's going back in. Meta has been trying for 5-6 years trying to get facial recognition going. And as you said, this is their opportunity. The political climate is right for us to spring this on earth again. And we're going to see if we can get this through.
And not only are they doing that, so there was an FTC settlement back in 2025. So as part of the FTC settlement, it was a privacy thing. Meta agreed to review every new or modified product for potential risks to the privacy of the company's users. In January 2025, Meta relaxed that process for reviewing privacy risks, according to an internal post viewed by the Times. The company's privacy teams have less influence over product releases, and there are new limits on how long the risk review process takes. Around that time, employees who worked on risk review questioned whether Meta would still be in compliance with its FTC settlement under the changes. Andy Milan, a director of risk review in Reality Labs, told them she believed that the changes would, quote, push the bounds of Meta's agreement with the FTC. And Mark wants to push on it a little bit, referring to Mr. Zuckerberg. So not only does he want to push the boundaries of the privacy and whether or not these glasses fall in line with other standards that he had already set himself and that the FTC had been holding him to and fining him for, because I believe he paid $5 billion. Facebook paid $5 billion to the FTC back in 2019 to settle a lawsuit that accused it of violating user privacy, including with its facial recognition software. So they've already come under fire for this, but they're like, let's just push it a little bit further to see how far we can go, and see how much we can spend without having to listen to what these people are saying. Like insurance companies, they assume the risk. Their actuary says, well, if you only have the X amount of claims, go ahead and do that shit anyway. But also he's considering turning off the sensor on the glasses. Now, currently, when the camera's on, there's a little sensor in the corner that lets you know that you're being recorded. I mean, people probably don't even pay attention to that now, but facial recognition would be a key feature for, quote, super sensing, end quote, glasses. So they could, for example, remind wearers of tasks when they saw a colleague. Mr. Zuckerberg has questioned if the glasses should keep their LED light on to show people they are using the super sensing feature, or if they should use another signal, which probably means none at all. And so it's just like, it's not just that that Meta is introducing this when no one has asked for it, no one cares for it. We know how difficult and not difficult, how dangerous it could be. It's that they're bypassing every standard, every common sense thing that is in place currently to keep people safe, to do it, and trying to be slick and introduce it when there's a whole bunch of other shit going on, so people don't even notice. It's one thing to create something that has dangerous potential and say, well, you let people kind of make their own decisions about whether or not they're using it. But it's another thing to know that and still use as many nefarious tactics as you can think of to get it done. And it's just disgusting to me. Meta, you should be ashamed of yourself.
So what you're saying is that, in the words of the late great Charlie Murphy, Mark Zuckerberg is a habitual line stepper. Is that what you're saying?
It don't make no sense. I'm just like, come on, man. Like, come on. It's just such a bad idea, and such a dangerous idea to be so flippant about let's just shove it under the radar while people are mad about ICE. They won't be thinking about it, and let's just forget about, the privacy reviews that are required. And we don't need that stinking indicator light like that. That just ruins the aesthetic of the glass. Just to dismiss every legitimate concern and it just I'm at a loss for words at how bad this is gonna be.
Yeah, I'm thinking of, I believe it was like a Black Mirror episode where everybody had like whatever they saw. It was like it was part of the feed, and it was something that the government they just got. Whatever you saw was something that the government had access to. So people would be like going to work, checking in and that, and like you might have a security guard say, "Hey, show me your last 15 minutes," and they would scroll through trying to see if they could see anything. This is just, I mean, that is the dystopian world, of the future.
Yeah.
But man, it seems like that's where we're going. If
we're close,
if you have people's, we're getting to a point to where people don't just have a Ring doorbell; they got cameras all over the house. You're getting to a point to where people are wearing cameras on their face. They're now starting to wear their own body cams, just for getting content. But it's like, if that content now is privy to the state using it, potentially using it against you or using it against, your fellow citizens, that just doesn't feel good. And, I don't know that we have the laws in place to do what we need to do. So this is a story that is not going to go away. They're looking at having this stuff come out this year. So I'm certain that we will be talking about this again. But y'all, it is the third week we're in the third week of Black History Month. This is the third Monday of Black History Month. And we've got another, spotlight for you this week. So let me go ahead and add this to the stage and we'll start doing a quick read here. So today we are going to be talking about Dr. George Robert Carruthers. So I'll just go ahead and read this here. Dr. George Robert Carruthers, a pioneering astronomical engineer and astronomer, developed the first astronomical instrument sent to the moon. In 1972, his compact ultraviolet electronographic telescope was deployed during the Apollo 16 mission, greatly enhancing knowledge of Earth's atmosphere and interstellar space. The flight backup of this historic camera is now displayed at the National Air and Space Museum. Born in Cincinnati, Ohio in 1939, Carruthers showed an early passion for space, building his first telescope at 10. He earned a PhD in aeronautical and astronautical engineering from the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign in 1964. That year, he joined the Naval Research Laboratory, where he remained a senior astrophysicist until his retirement in 2002. Beyond his groundbreaking research, Carruthers adapted his camera designs to new solid-state sensors. He dedicated much of his later life to inspiring and mentoring young people, particularly people of color, in STEM fields. His Apollo success made him a symbol for STEM accessibility groups. He was involved with organizations like the National Technical Association and Project SMART, lecturing and bringing students into his lab. For his lifetime achievements, President Barack Obama awarded him the National Medal of Technology and Innovation in 2013. Dr. Carruthers passed away at the age of 81 in December of 2021.
Shout out. He actually low-key looks like one of my calculus professors at FAM was Dr. Brody. I don't remember what his first name was, but Dr. Brody, he kind of low-key looks like him a little bit. They were both skinny, light skinned.
Yeah, he just looks like he is incredibly intelligent. So that's probably just a thing. This bruh's building, telescopes that we put on the moon. Built the telescope to put on the moon. So once again, doctor, I'm gonna put that respect on it because the article doesn't say doctor until you get down into it, but Dr. George Robert Carruthers. So we give him his shout out. So y'all, we are at the end of the show. Before, Steph, I let you, do your shout out. I do want to remind folks that, hey, we have a shop. So we've got t-shirts and hats and hoodies and aprons and mice pads and all kind of good stuff. So if you're interested in getting anything that has our mask on, head over to thetechjohn.com/shop, where you will find a bunch of stuff. There's dozens of items over there. And remember, anything that you buy, send us a picture of it. Let us see you wearing it or using it or whatever the case is. We will put that up on on the website or throw it up, during the show or something like that, because, we like to see when folks are repping us in that way. So once again, head over to thetechjohn.com. That's thetechjawn.com/shop. So with that being said, Tech Life Steph, tell folks how they can get at you.
You can follow me all around the web at Tech Life Steph. Head to my website at stephaniehumphrey.com or tune into my new radio show, Life and Tech with Tech Life Steph on WURD in Philadelphia.
So just a little bit of a precursor here. So folks, if you are patrons, you definitely want to stick around because Tech Life Steph is going to be giving us a lowdown on her new project that she's been going. I think you just completed week 3, right?
Yeah, week 4 actually.
So you just did week 4.
Yes.
So yeah, so we're going to be talking about that in the after party, which you're going to probably do in about 30 seconds here. That being said, I am also on all things at Robb Dunewood. We are on all things at the Tech John, the Tech JAWN. So come holler at us however you holler. And until we meet again in a week's time. Peace.